Not Texas versus everyone else. It's Texas and everyone else.
People do not care what you know until they know that you care. I'd rather see a sermon than to hear one on Sunday.
If you're only looking at the numbers, it's going to be harder and harder to convince these communities to welcome in opportunity.
Hello, and welcome back to our podcast here with Pflugerville Community Development Corporation, also known as PCDC. And today we have the honor of having with us Mr. Ed Curtis, who is the CEO of this really cool opportunity called YTexas. We're going to dig in and kind of find out, I guess, his why, no pun intended. Why did he start YTexas? But super opportunity to be able to have Ed Curtis here with us today.
Well, the honor's mine.
Thank you, Ed.
Yeah.
And how are things going after you guys just had a huge event up in Dallas? How is that been coming off of that high, so to speak?
It's been good. We hosted about 5 events around the state this year. Kind of doing deep dives on microeconomies, driving the state success, and of course this region being one of them.
And we all know that Texas is not a small state, so to do 5 of them across the state, that has a lot of frequent flyer miles,
yes.
so to speak.
Or in my case, frequent driver miles.
Yes,
I'm pounding the pavement.
Absolutely. So kind of tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah.
And what's your story like? I believe I've read that you are not originally from Texas, neither am I. So just kind of want to get a bit of your story, and then we'll kind of dig in as we go.
Sure. Yeah. 1993, moved here from the East Coast, New York State.
New York, okay.
Yeah. And I was a young man. I was just kind of looking at what the next chapter of my life was going to be. I didn't have plans of staying here, of course, like most people. You get here and realize how great it is. And early 90s, moved here after I graduated college. Fell in love with the state as soon as I got here. I kind of got the itch to learn more about economic development, what made the state so special. I knew what made the state special as soon as I got here, and it was the people. But kind of digging into, what makes it tick was of interest to me. And spent most of my career in commercial banking and started dabbling in the economic development world. I'm not a trained expert in economic development, but I was able to kind of carve my way into the industry by just creating a network for people that are new to the state, get them networked into people and learn more about how to expand and stay here.
So just sharing with you as well, me being from Louisiana, I found what you've created is really a great tool for networking and just getting to know one another. And I call it humanizing the experience of becoming a Texan, of coming here, planting, your roots and building family here. And of course, I know that you're from New York, but you're not from New York City. You're born in Brooklyn, but
The Bronx.
Bronx.
It's okay. I forget.
Oh my goodness! I'm about to start something. You're born in the Bronx, but you moved upstate for a while, right? Buffalo.
Orange County, a place called
Orange,
Middletown.
yes.
Yeah. And I lived in the city until I was about 6 years old. But, most of my family, I still have a lot of roots in the city. And, and spent most of my life in upstate New York, which is very rural. And then usually the transition in life is everyone wants to get back to the city because that's where all the work is.
Yes. So, I mean, there was, the state of Texas being such a large state, and also having quite a rural footprint. When you get outside of the Texas Triangle, you start to really get into some very rural parts of Texas. So I'm sure that there was some familiarity or some tie that you have that allows you to, I would say, love the entire state, which is contributing to your why as to why you located here. Was there any experiences that made you kind of second guess that transition or made you say, well, maybe I do need to go back? Or was there any moments that kind of really made you feel the need to maybe go back to your previous home? Because I believe this is your home now. 1990s, this is your home.
Yeah, it's my home, and I have kids now that were born that are Texans. I think the only thing would probably be away from family.
Yeah.
It was kind of tough in those years because I didn't have intentions on staying here.
Absolutely.
And then I knew pretty quickly. I would never forget, my mother came down to visit. She spent a week, and she said, "Yeah, you're not coming home." And then she ended up moving here, like most people when they visit Texas. So,
Absolutely.
The people and the culture really is what keeps people here. I think that's a big part of the story. People might not understand, which, you and I like to, amplify that message.
Wholeheartedly.
Yeah. But yeah, family would be the only thing that to this day, it's tough.
Same here.
Yeah.
I share with the team a lot that many people don't know this, but over the last 10 years, and this is just Houston stats, over 100,000 people moved from Louisiana to the Houston area over the last 10 to 15 years. And here in the Austin region, there is some stats that show nearly 50,000 people have left Louisiana and have moved to the greater Austin region. If you just look at the Houston numbers by themselves, that is Alexandria, where I'm from, Pineville, and Monroe. And a few other little small places to pick up to get to that 100,000. So, family is a big thing. For me, it was the food. I was so nervous about leaving Louisiana because of the food. And then to get to a place like Houston, and I've even been able to find some places in Austin that, kind of keeps me from having to feel like I need to take that 5-hour drive. So those are those types of opportunities that you can't replace family, but it's pretty good if you can replace the other things like food that make you want to miss a community.
And I think that's what Austin and other big cities in Texas have done is grown that culture diversity.
Yes.
To keep people that were coming in from other parts of the state and giving them what they want, which is, cuisine and quality of life and all the things that, that they enjoyed where they came from. And obviously the things that they didn't enjoy, they leave them there. But yeah, culture and quality of life is really, at the end of the day, that's the economic development story, right? That's
absolutely.
That's why they're coming and why they're staying.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I was listening in and read up on some things about the first YTexas networking event.
Yeah.
Can you share a little bit about that? I thought it was fascinating. People tend to come and bring solutions. Some people bring solutions to the table, right? There's some who will say, this isn't happening, that isn't happening, why? And what I found very inspiring about you, you recognize the problem, and instead of bringing the problem to the forefront, you brought the solution and then incorporated other people to be a part of that solution, so that it didn't seem like it was just something that you were pushing. You found the strengths in everyone's voice. And I thought that was really inspiring. So if you could share a little bit about what was the first event and what did it feel like?
Yeah. Well, I said it was a lot of crying. I think if I remember telling the story correctly. But no, I mean, a lot of what, I've done over the last 10 years is based on personal experience. Even though I was a young man that I didn't have a business, I didn't have employees. It was just a personal experience of moving here and, thinking about what would it be like for a CEO in a company to bear the burden of, I'm not saying forcing people to move, but, if you want to keep your job or going to Texas, what would that experience would be like for him or her personally? And then, what's the experience like for the people that came? I I always feel like, again, if I think back to my experience moving to Texas, it was very welcoming. People, they were always very nice. They'd make fun of my accent, of course, but then they would, the next question is, what can we do to help you? So came up with an idea to reach out to an Atlanta-based hotel who decided to relocate to Texas. I called up the CEO and I said, I have an idea. I want to bring about 50 people out to your hotel. There's no expense to you. All I want you to do is get up on stage and tell people why you moved and what you need, now that you're here. So at first he was like, okay, well, I don't understand. What are you trying to accomplish? I said, I just have an idea. I'd like to see what happens. And so called a lot of my friends, called local media. I said, we're going to have this event. We fortunately were able to get some of the folks from the Dallas Mavericks, the developer who basically built the hotel. And we hosted an event with, free beer and good stories.
Well, that
and,
always helps.
Free beer always helps. And, but the part about the crying was when you get people in front of, a crowd of people who are eager to learn about, why you made the move. It reminded him of the pain that he went through and the tough decision to move the company here, and then having to deal with, his family and transitioning kids into their new school and making sure that his spouse was happy being here. And it brings people to tears very often when they go through and reflect back on that. So at the end of that event, we knew we had an idea, and that was essentially the beginning of, YTexas events.
I absolutely, I love this, everything about this movement is what I really call it.
Yeah.
For me, and I share this with folks quite often, and I don't even know if you're even aware of this, Ed. Probably a lot of folks don't know this, but I literally accepted this position in November, and my wife had our second child on Christmas Day. January the 31st, we signed the mortgage on our new home here.
Mm-hmm.
We left Houston and moved here and moved everything into the house on the 2nd of February, and then walked into this office and started working on the 3rd of February.
Wow.
And it's like, can you imagine how many other people are making those types of transitions here? And there's a community here, but if you don't get plugged in and connected to it, you'll miss it every time. And I was just having these types of conversations about when I first got started in economic development about 15 years ago. I'd walk into conferences and you would just have to know or figure it out where you were supposed to go and what you're supposed to do. And now they have these meet and greets and happy hours, and let's tell you how you can incorporate and be a part of the conversation. And I'm going, I wish I would have did that 15 years ago. I walked into the building, didn't know where I was going. But for you, what I really appreciate is the fact that when you walked into the building, meaning Texas, and you recognize the strength of connectivity, community, and connecting, you had that aha moment that said, now that I understand how this all works, let me go back and make sure that I don't leave anybody else behind, that the networking piece is so important that I'll build an entire movement around it. So I really think that is, it's not just fascinating, but it also speaks to your character as well. Most people, when they find a network, they tend to just kind of keep it to themselves, right? And you're like, no, let's blow the roof off of this thing and open it up so everybody can communicate and share in ideas. I just think that's really something commendable.
Well, thank you.
Because people keep those types of opportunities to themselves. But you said something, and I want you to kind of dig in there a little bit more. You said something that very few people tend to say, and that is it's about the people. And I wholeheartedly agree with you. When it comes to Pflugerville,
Yeah.
In Central Texas and all of Texas, right? But here in Pflugerville, I truly have seen time and time again how it's about the people. What motivates you um, to care enough that you understand? What led you to come to that understanding that the people is our greatest asset?
Yeah. It's a good question because, when I first moved to Texas, most of my family, they realized why I did it. And um, they're, of course, very supportive of what I did. But as Texas has, become, very prominent on the national stage, I get a lot of my friends and family calling saying, what's going on in Texas? Like, you guys need to keep doing whatever you're doing, keep doing it. So again, the more I became a bigger part of the community, the way I looked at it was, and I said this in one of the last podcasts I had, it's not Texas versus everyone else, it's Texas and everyone else. So I almost felt like Texas had an obligation to maximize on the opportunity that is being presented to the state. And again, coming from New York, I can say that because New York has a long history of being very important to the success of the state. It's New York and the rest of the United States. Texas, they fight their own battles, and that's the greatness of the state is they like to battle and win, and they should never get away from that. But I don't think Texans realize how important it is for Texas to be successful for the rest of the nation. And people that are watching are paying attention. Yeah, there's some envy, and we're all competing over relocations. But at the end of the day, I think they're all rooting for Texas to succeed. So, again, being an outsider coming in, being someone who did not have a background in economic development and, still learning to this day, how the industry works, I felt it was a story and a challenge I needed to embrace. As I got into my, middle-aged years, you like to have a purpose in life.
Well, I'll say this, especially when it comes to the economic development conversation.
Yeah.
I am just vehemently against the tribal club nature that occurs within it, and I think most professions have those types of groups, if you will. I don't think that there is one single way to get into economic development. I've seen everything from bankers to civic leaders to community activists to quite naturally, just to show you how expansive it is, I literally could make an argument why our librarian here in Pflugerville could be considered an economic development professional or a contributor to economic development because of the access to co-working space that they provide, the access to knowledge and information that they provide as it relates to workforce development with their LinkedIn class courses and stuff. So even with you being a past banker, that is a direct connection to the business community, making sure that people are bankable, having relationships with them. Those are things that really help grow economic development. So there's no one way to get into economic development. And if you need me to stamp you knight you, I knight you today as an economic development professional. Not that Jerry has any knighting ability, but
I know exactly what he's saying. Look, in the banking world, it was very, it was very, very similar.
Yes.
But I think, economic development industry or the professionals are, they're a victim of their own success, really. I mean, the Texas model, the seriousness that all economic development professionals take in the state is they're second to none. I mean, it's really, if you look back at the history of how we attracted a lot of companies here, without a doubt, the foundation of that started with the economic development industry and how it kind of, came to what it is today. So kind of a victim of their own success. But to your point, I think if you just look at the word economic development, it means exactly like you said, the community.
Absolutely.
And I think it's playing itself out right now. So good times.
Yeah, I enjoy the format of economic development here in Texas.
Yeah.
I think that, again, that's like you said, that's what makes it so attractive. All of the projects start local.
Mm-hmm.
They come knocking on our door, and then we work with them to then get them to the point where they can go up to the state and get state incentives. But the projects start local, and I think that that's phenomenal.
Yep.
And it gives us an opportunity to really be able to be competitive against our neighbors at times to win projects.
Mm-hmm.
I think that is by far the best, strategy, if you will. I think it's very Texan,
Exactly.
and that's something that I appreciate
Mm-hmm.
As someone who has relocated here now and has made Texas my home. But yeah, so tell us a little bit about this huge, and I do mean huge, event, because I feel like if you're having something inside or anywhere near Kyle Field
Mm-hmm.
Stadium at Texas A&M, I definitely think it's worth having a conversation about that large platform.
Yeah.
Share with us a little bit about that event. I'm looking forward to it.
So, everyone's got their pre-COVID, post-COVID story. Our pre and post-COVID story was that we were very, very event centric with our network, the YTexas network, before COVID. We were more of a kind of a private organization where we would host events, like I'd mentioned to you at the hotel, but we wouldn't necessarily invite anyone in the state of Texas to come to the events. Well, when COVID hit, it changed everyone's business model. But if you remember, more people were moving to Texas during COVID than ever before.
Absolutely.
So even though we couldn't have events, case in point.
Present.
Yeah, there you go.
Present.
Case study right here.
Right.
We started having Zoom events, and we were just trying to keep the story alive, and again stick to welcoming these new people moving into the state. So we got through COVID like everyone else, and we said, when we come out of this, we don't know what the event industry is going to look like. We can't be hosting an event every week. It's not going to make sense, especially if we're looking to expand around the state. Like you said, there's 254 counties. There's a lot of places to go. What if we just focused on having one big statewide event and, see what happens? And we kind of started that concept a couple of years ago in Dallas. And as luck would have it, over the years, we more and more colleges and universities were wanting to be a part of the YTexas network. Again, to your point, the economic development, stakeholders are becoming the colleges and universities.
Absolutely.
So, met a couple of people who introduced me to a couple of people at Texas A&M, and they said, well, if you need a stadium or a facility, we have Kyle Field. So, you and I were joking around about it before the podcast, but of course it's like, okay, well, whoever didn't go to A&M, who's going to come to A&M for the event? What we found is that people, of course, put that aside.
Absolutely.
But A&M and Bryan College Station, and they will claim, if you look at the Texas Triangle, they're right smack dab in the middle.
They are. Now, I have a council member. Councilman Mateo would not want to admit anything great about Texas A&M,
Right.
but that is a geographical fact. So I can stay out of bad graces with him.
Right.
It is a geographical fact that they are almost practically smack dab in the middle of the Texas Triangle.
It's a challenge to get there, but it's still a couple hours for almost anyone to get there. Plus, you've got 8 state agencies, and
yes,
I learned this yesterday. They own land, or they have a presence in all 254 counties, of course, with energy and infrastructure and AI and, all of the different industries really that are driving our economy now. Texas A&M really is at the heart of all that. And of course, their chancellor was our controller. So, everything kind of worked out well.
Glenn
and,
is phenomenal.
Yeah.
I almost want to call him a Texas treasure. Now, it's not just because he's from Fort Bend County.
Yeah.
And that's where I first got started in Texas. There might be a little bit as to why, but a lot of times you can see a politician or a public servant and you can see them as a politician, right?
Yep.
You can actually see Glenn Hart whenever he talks,
Yep.
Whenever he's involved in something. You can literally see the man's heart.
Mm-hmm.
And see that he cares about what he's dealing with or what he's faced with or what he's leading through. It's something special to see how he operates. So when I saw him, go to Texas A&M, I'm surprised, but that is going to be a phenomenal space for him and what he'll be able to accomplish in that space.
Yeah, and if you remember, the Broadband Development Office reported up to the Comptroller's office, and he went on a road tour around the entire state, talking to them or asking them questions about, how do we get connectivity to your city and your region? So I couldn't agree with you more. He was a great champion.
So Texas A&M.
Yeah.
First of all, I think that you have opened a door that I hope you take off running with it. Because a lot of people over the years in economic development have scratched their head on we have, and I'm just going to use Texas A&M for example. We have Texas A&M right here in Brazos Valley area. We have all these graduates, but then they end up leaving the area,
right? And
some actually end up leaving the state. What you have put together, YTexas, gives them an opportunity to be able to network and be able to create synergy and be able to build some camaraderie with people who may end up either needing them as employees or may help them become employers. That's something that I can tell you, working in economic development for a while, a lot of universities struggle with trying to figure out how to create databases or what is the secret sauce to get that type of relationships going and growing. And you may have arguably created a platform that other states are going to try to figure out how to replicate. Because, I've seen all different types of formats that people have tried to use, creating databases, like I said, and all these other things to really say, hey, don't leave the state or the area. There's opportunities here. You're putting the people who have the opportunities to give directly in the room with the people who need the opportunity. That by itself is
it's all about the people.
Absolutely.
Even behind any company, you look at Tesla or SpaceX, it's the people that work for the company. And I want your opinion on this, but the next generation, they look at the world differently. They consume and buy products differently.
Absolutely.
They're very community oriented, right? If there's a community of people on TikTok that say, I need to do this, they do that. Yeah. And I think that's going to be where economic development needs to go. And it's very promising to see that a lot of people like yourself in economic development are younger, because I think the next generation of economic developers will see that, hopefully sooner than later, where we're in an entertainment world, we're in a content world, we're in a storytelling world. And, like you, I'm a big fan of sports. I just love sports. And If you look at the analogy of sports franchises, look at the World Cup, the community, you've got competition and collaboration, right? Everyone's partying at the end of the game, but you're battling on the field or on the court. And I think if you can incorporate those types of things in your economic development model or your events, make them fun, collaborative, sports-oriented, content-oriented, you'll get that next generation that really want to stay, because I firmly believe that retention and expansion is the economic development story in Texas. Of course, we want more
Absolutely.
people and companies moving here, but we want them staying.
Absolutely. And you, like I said, you have touched an area that people have really kind of wrestled with.
Yeah.
But again, much to what I've said has been my observation of you. You bring the solution with you to the table instead of just talking about the problem. And so, Kyle Field in December
1st, 2nd, and 3rd.
December 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. We will be out there at Kyle Field Stadium, and it will be the YTexas conference or summit, or is it?
Well, we're actually looking at the next 10 years, because in 10 years Texas will be 200, and then this year the United States is 250.
Yeah.
So we're kind of having a little 10-year runway to 2036. So we're calling it YTexas 2026, and then every year after that will be the annual conference. And hopefully we could fill up a stadium someday, and people like yourselves that support what we're doing, and get more people from Pflugerville or Central Texas out to College Station, Bryan College Station, for a couple of days. We'll make the event more successful.
Now, it will be probably somewhere around 20 years since I've been in College Station. I'm looking, yes. I attended a leadership program, Southwest Leadership Program, in College Station, and it is the only place where I've actually ate cactus. It was this golf course that
Sounds painful.
And it was actually not bad. It was a very interesting flavor variation of broccoli.
Mm-hmm.
But it was an experience that I don't think I will probably never forget. And it creates a fond memory in my mind every time I think about that. When I think about Texas A&M, I think about that experience.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a fondness there. So I'm looking forward to going back to College Station and checking it out.
It's changed a lot, and I think the next 10 or 20 years, you're not going to recognize it.
Yes.
Especially with the Terrafab, going out into Grimes County.
Yes.
Interesting times. But I'm not going to let you go before you kind of share with me. I'm really interested in learning. I mean, your approach to economic development seems a little out of the box. You like to look at things a little bit differently, and you're not from Texas. So, I mean, how's that been for you?
I got one thing though before, and we'll dive into me, but I want to talk about your book real quick.
Yeah.
I think it's really, and we're gonna put the information on the screen to kind of give people an opportunity to go and get the book, read it, and really dig into it.
Yeah.
But if you could real quickly kind of talk about, what made you even want to write the book, and then what can a person expect to gain from reading the book? And then I'll answer the
good, because I mean, I think it plays into what I want from you. But I mean, it's essentially 11 stories of CEOs' experience relocating to Texas. And, what preconceived ideas they had, what was different, and probably most importantly, what lessons can they share with other people? Wow. So, I had the opportunity to interview T. Boone Pickens before he passed. He was really funny.
I bet.
Andy Roddick, I mean, last U.S. to tennis player to win a major in tennis. Kendra Scott, her experience relocating here from Wisconsin and having to knock on doors in downtown Austin and compete with New York City to sell her products. And the CEO of Toyota was a really interesting one because he had to move thousands of people from California. And it was good. It was a lot of fun. And it was, but if you look at what's happening now in San Antonio, and of course they're doubling down in Plano, the Toyota case study is one that people should really dig into, because the Japanese culture is a big part of that relocation as well.
Absolutely.
They're very, family oriented. Trust is the most important thing for them.
Yep.
So the process of them getting here was challenging, but yeah. So
All right, now you.
Yep.
So,
so let's add a chapter to that book.
well, I
Jerry
mean,
Jones.
economic development is different to me.
Yeah.
When I first got started in this business, everybody was really chasing down smokestacks, right? How many, petrochemical or any kind of plant, right? How many jobs and capital expansion and job. And for me, I have a unique background. Having been so many mentors over the years, and just even when they didn't know that they were my mentors,
Mhm.
I'm listening to them. Sometimes I'm listening to understand what I should do, and then sometimes I'm listening to understand what I shouldn't do, right? And all of those things kind of just shaped me into looking at economic development in a quest to say, as a kid, I used to be a landscaper. I grew up working on a farm. My grandmother was a maid for like 54 years. And so I learned in my mind, I said, if I'm going to do economic development, how can I find a young man or woman and help create opportunities where they can scale throughout life and get to a point where they actually feel like they can not only take care of themselves, but take care of the people that are around them, that are in their household, that are their family. And so when I first got started in economic development, I came in the room saying, hey, we should talk about business development and creating opportunities for people to learn how to do business. And my first conferences that I went to, folks weren't wanting to talk about. They wanted to talk about smokestacks, how many jobs created, and 400, 1,000 jobs here, and all that kind of stuff, right? And here I am talking about how to help the mom and pop, or how to help the person who may have 20 employees, but they really could get to 40 employees if we double down and help them. And so now you go into these same conferences, and now the same folks who were like, oh, sit down, we don't want to talk about that. And they're now doing TED Talks on these very topics. And I'm going, oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
This is interesting.
Yeah.
I'm glad I'm glad none of us have our Razor phones from 20 years ago, because we would have you saying something completely different. But I'm just glad that they get it.
Yep.
I'm glad that even though my approach is kind of unorthodox, it comes from a place of caring about people. And wanting to see a community turn out better than the way I found it. That's something I'm really big on, leaving something better than the way I found it. And then caring about people, even if I don't know their first or last name. Just the fact that they are a human being who live in this community. My wife thinks I'm a weirdo because I will be in the store and I will see a kid ask their parent for something that they don't really need, but they want, and that parent have the disposable income in order to purchase it. I probably will 300 pounds, 6'5", start crying and having to walk out the grocery store. And my wife was like, you big baby, she's 5'3", right? And she's, oh, you need to just suck it up. It ain't that, that touching. And I'm going, you just don't get it. You don't get it. So just there's so many experiences that I'm glad that I walked through my youthful days up to what is now 43 with my eyes wide open. And I saw how things worked. I saw how people lived. I saw how opportunities came to some folks, how some folks went and made the opportunity come their way, and how some folks faked it until the opportunity showed up. If it ever showed up, they just kept faking it until they made it, right?
Right.
And being in a space where I can give a voice and help people who may have my background, be able to get here in this seat or in a better seat.
Mm-hmm.
Quite honestly, I can't imagine having a better seat than this one.
Yeah.
But if there is one for that person, I want that person to have that better seat. So that's why I guess that's my why. I love this profession so much, is because you can't love this profession and not love people. You
No.
just have to love people, and
If you want to be successful
if you
and
want,
connect with the community.
absolutely. And I know my team gets tired of me saying this, but people do not care what you know until they know that you care.
Yep, I saw that.
Yeah,
That's
I know it drives people crazy,
line.
but it's the truth. I don't
It's
want
so
to
true.
hear, and my grandmother would say it a different way. My grandmother would say, I'd rather see a sermon than to hear one on Sunday. That was what my grandmother would always say.
Really?
I'd rather see a sermon. I'd
Yeah.
rather see that person living the life that they're trying to tell me about to live on Sunday.
Right.
And those are things people want to follow. Leadership that they can see instead of leadership that they hear about.
Yeah.
And those things, you have to love in order to be able to do that.
Well, I mean, it's more important now than ever.
Yes.
Because with AI and the data center development and all of the opportunities, I don't want to say challenges, opportunities that are facing us going forward, it's your obligation, our obligation as, economic development leaders to tell the story.
Yep.
Explain the good, the bad, and the ugly.
And allow the people to
and
make
let
the
the people make the decision, but also give the companies an opportunity to tell their story and explain their value proposition. And, most of the time it works out.
Yep.
But if it's closed door meetings and like you said, if you're only looking at the numbers, it's going to be harder and harder to convince these communities to welcome in opportunity. They might not look at it as opportunity in the beginning, but it is. You and I know it is.
Absolutely.
And it's allowing them to be a part of that decision rather than forcing that decision down their throat. I think it's,
well, it's
good
called
time to do
leadership.
that. It's called leadership.
And I was meeting with some site selectors probably about 2 weeks ago. And, one of their concerns is their clients want to be able to have conversations in confidentiality. And it's not because they're wanting to just come to a community and get everything they can out of that community and not put anything in there.
Right.
They are in business, and you don't want to tell what you're doing, or you don't want your business out there publicly because your competitors
Right.
are going to come and try to leverage and hedge bets against you.
Mm-hmm.
And so people such as us who are in economic development, we're not in here trying to keep secrets and purposely keeping things away from the community. We're doing what it takes to attract a business here. And when that business comes here, we should be having the conversations about how much the average wages are for that business. You see a lot of these buildings that are coming up now, the spec buildings, and sometimes we get people say, I don't like all these unsightly spec buildings, but behind those spec buildings are people who are working to provide for their families. And we're talking about anywhere between 60,000 plus, average wage. And you put two of those people in the household together, and now that household is making somewhere around 120, 150, or 160, right, or more.
Yep.
You put one behind a house and with a nurse or an attorney or whatever other occupation. We're talking about a place where people can actually afford to live well and have a great quality of life. But going back to what you said, we have to tell that story.
Yep.
That it's not just some cold, gray, concrete buildings, but there's life behind them. And that's one of the reasons why we started a series, a video series called Behind the Tilt Walls, because we realized that we needed to tell the story about the people who are working behind those tilt walls, who are a part of our community. And so, yeah, we look for unique ways to kind of tell the story. And it requires leadership. It requires going in the room and saying, here is the facts. You're human, so it's perfectly okay for you to allow emotions to to guide you, but we want to make sure that we're bringing you the facts, and then you make whatever decisions that you need for yourself, so that you will feel comfortable knowing what we know, and that is the truth.
Mm-hmm.
And that's important. I think people, when you bring them the truth, you provide them an opportunity, like you said, the pros,
and they
the
appreciate
good, the
it.
bad, and the ugly, and let them make the decision.
Well, and I think that what's in favor of Texas is people are wanting to hear our story.
Yes.
You're getting inbound calls saying, "Convince me to come there."
Yes.
Where in other areas they have to reach out and convince them
to stay.
To stay. Right. Exactly. So yeah, I mean, we're in a good spot in Texas, and we just got to keep going. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Ed. I really appreciate this.
Me too.
Enjoyed this conversation. I hope this isn't the last one. I'll hold you to it.
Oh, well, I'm going to invite you on some of our podcasts that we'll be doing, and of course at our event. I want you to.
I look forward to
when it give you the stage. I think people need to hear your story and the Pflugerville story for sure.
I look forward to it. Don't forget, guys, do not forget to go and check out Ed's book. We're going to have the link down below. And also, we're going to have the link for the event in December at Texas A&M at Kyle Field Stadium. So thank you so much again for coming.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Appreciate it. Thank you.